Alright, here's our CFG ku45. This is at our Sherwood shop here, and this is just a conditions walkthrough here of it. So here's the bucket. I think it's right at 91 hours of use on it. We were doing a job at some property, and this was mainly used to do a YouTube video review, and this thing is performed flawlessly. I've had no issues with it. You can see the grease there. I'm a big believer in grease is cheap, metal is expensive, so we tend to over grease things, but I'd rather not have my pins and bushings wear out. All the parts are still pretty tight. This is your thumb here. This is a mechanical thumb, so you pull the pin, you unbolt this, push this pin through, and then the thumb will drop down and you put the pin right back down in one of those holes there, and you can use this for picking up stuff. There's the conditions of the lines right there, hydraulic cylinders, your work lights. You have a guard right here on the front, and there's the blade. Cutting edge is all really good. This is mainly just loose dirt that we were working in a field to putting in walking trails. Here's our connection to the house right here, or the turntable. And there is your hydraulic cylinder that turns it. It is offset a little bit, so when you're looking at it, the boom sits off to this side a little bit. That allows you to get in tighter spaces if you turn one way or the other, having it offset like that. So right here, this gauge, that is your hydraulic oil right there. See, it's clear. It's right in the middle where it's supposed to be. Right here, this is your fuel filler cap right here, hydraulic oil cap right there. Up here, this is your condenser for your air conditioner. And then in the back here, we have this upper hood. There's our motor. It's a Yanmar motor. There's the model right there. This is a 25 horsepower motor. There's the radiator. See a little bit, I'll zoom in right there. See a little bit, couple pieces of pine needles, but nothing major. We rinsed this thing off and we're done with it. It was mainly dusty, so you're just seeing some residual from the dust, and that was rinsed off and we're done with it. There's your pump right there. It's a Taffy pump. They're a Chinese company. They make pumps for XCMG, for a whole range of big industrial, like mining excavators, all the way down to the small ones like this. This right here is your counterweight. It's all cast, I think cast steel. There's the undercarriage right there. 2 tracks. Tracks are in good condition. Very little wear. Like I said, we were working mainly in an open field, doing cleanup work, picking out rocks, and then cutting in a trail for a walking path. So if you want to tighten the tracks, you take off these 2 bolts. There is behind that a grease zerk. You pump grease into it and it tightens these tracks. One of the tracks did pop off. It was because it got loose. It was a warm day and they were just breaking in, and so I popped them back on. I put a video on that on YouTube. It was a pretty easy process. But yeah, that was really the only hiccup that we had, and that went really smooth. They just loosened the zerk fitting here and then pushed the idler wheel in, and you can put the track back on, no problem. Same thing on this side. Track's in really good condition. And then you have the cab here. So the box right there, that's your air conditioning box. It blows ice cold. I don't have the key for me, or key with me right now, but it takes another key here that's different than the ignition key that will open this box up here. I'll try to get you a better view of it, but inside there is all your fuses, your relays, and your battery cutoff disconnect switches in there too. This switch right there, that's your high speed, low speed. So what it's doing is when you press it forward, it hits a momentary electronic switch, and then that switch kicks on a solenoid that allows extra hydraulic fluid to go to your travel motors, increasing the speed. Modifications I've done on this. I wanted a step here because there's no good step when you come out of these things, so I welded this together. It's just a piece of tubing. It goes down and it's bolted down to this 1/2 inch thick steel right here, and then you got a gusset support there. It's not touching the machine, but makes a great step. I have the pedal here that bolts to this. I just removed the pedal because I like the extra floor space, and since I wasn't using that third function, which where that pedal will go, it runs your auxiliary hydraulics. For the hydraulic thumb that goes with it, you'll need to put that pedal in there to be able to operate it. So that's what that is. Same thing with these. These are all held down with these hex nuts right there. Operations wise, you have the radio up there, and then temperature controls. This doesn't have true heat, but if you want heat, you just remove that panel right there, and you have all the heat from the radiator being pulled this way. And if you have this panel out, it'll allow heat to come into the cab. Your exhaust is all the way on the far side here, so you don't have to worry about CO poisoning getting in here. So I'm going to try to zoom out here so you have a better idea what I'm doing. You have these two panels right here. So you click these levers here. This whole screen here pops up, just like any regular excavator. They pop up, they lock, and now you have an open cab at the front here. So this window here slides. All slides really good. You have a fan there. I'm not quite sure what's with the radioactive signal that they have put on it, but it has that. And here's your controls. So that's my voltage right there. It's a cycle through. That's the hours right there. We're at 91.7 hours. And that's your RPM. So 12.6, so it's charging. And the reason the voltage is a little bit low is because I do have the air conditioner on here. And I can feel it, it's blowing cold air. I can put my hand out here and this is blowing hot air, so I know it's exchanging the heat. So we'll shut that off. That should take out some of the draw in the system. That's your RPM that it idles at. 14 volts, so our charging system is doing fine. To run this thing, put our handle down here. Typical excavator controls, you lift up, booms up, and then falls onto you. Super smooth operations. It's just like a Kubota or any type of machine of this size. Just a really smooth operating machine. And this is an idle too. When you get this thing about half RPM, I mean this thing will just move material. My lever right there for the blade, it rolls up. And the RPM a little bit. So got the RPM probably about quarter, so we'll see the tracking speed here. So this is without the that's with the fast travel. Without fast travel, that's with fast travel. So we're moving along at a pretty good clip. We'll look at the pins and bushings. So here's a bucket, and I'm yeeting on it. It's still really tight. Have a little bit of space in between there. That's what you're hearing, but other than that, this is nice and tight. Yeah, I mean, there's not a whole lot more to say about this thing. You got controls for the lights in there too. I'll show that. There's the motor running. This is idle. There's the exhaust right there. So you control your RPM this way. This thing just moves. I mean, when you get it going, it's moving. here. To turn it, so this is my turn function, so this turns the whole turntable, but there's this button here, so if I hold this button and move my arm, it turns the whole boom assembly. Same thing if I go back the other way. And you let go, and then you go back to the just the turntable spinning. Hopefully it's easier to hear me now. Other modification I did is I threw the mirror on there just because I like to be able to see what's behind me when I'm operating. This is with the blade all the way up. I mean, it's pretty decent height. It gets out of the way so I can travel over stuff. It doesn't get in the way of loading ramps or anything like that on my trailer. Bottom side of the bucket, like I said, this is all really tight machine. Like I said, I'm a big believer in grease is cheap, metal's expensive, so I tend to over grease things, but that can come off with a pressure washer. Like I said, we did rinse it off after we got done using it just because it was pretty dusty, but as you can see, it's all in really good condition. These things, we work with an importer, and there's no warranty on these things, but everything on this is not proprietary. It's all off-the-shelf stuff. So say if I'm working around a boulder or something and I damage this hydraulic cylinder by bashing this hydraulic cylinder into a boulder, I can go into any hydraulic shop, get the measurements, and find one that'll fit this. This isn't like a special one-off hydraulic cylinder. They used off-the-shelf parts. And this body style machine here, this is they've been producing this for years. This is, I think, seen us coming into the US for about 3 years now. You do see it at auctions occasionally. There is a company up in Canada called Mammoth Machineries. They are selling these. Same exact model, it just comes with the hydraulic thumb already attached, and it's painted green, and they are selling it for $54,000. So these machines are around. You can get parts for it. You're going to have to dig a little bit. It's not like Kubota, John Deere, Bobcat. I mean, you're going to have to do a little bit of Google searching, and you may have to order from China, but there's already so much stuff that's coming over there. It's not as hard as it used to be. Back in the day, it was a lot more challenging, but nowadays it's pretty easy. I do it all the time, and I don't have any issues with it. You just have to wait a little bit. Or if you have a shop around that can do the repair on you, then there you go. Cost savings, yeah, you don't have a warranty with these, but at the price that you're buying it for, say something goes wrong with this, you can take this to any diesel repair shop or shop that's capable of repairing this type of stuff, fabrication shop, whatever the issue is, and they'll have you up and running, for not that much, because this is a pretty simplistic machine. There's not a whole lot of, there's nothing complicated about this. You can get the pump. The pump is, you can go to Taffy, you can go, I think it's madeinchina.com. I mean, you can literally look up the part number and you can get the same pump shipped to you. Valve bodies. All your valving for this is underneath the floorboard here. You just take off a couple bolts and you can see underneath there, and that's where all your valves are. Yeah, it's a real straightforward design. There's not a whole lot on this thing that's going to be there to go wrong. I mean, there's not the computer system. It is a computer controlled EMR motor, but that ECM, you see that aluminum looking thing right there, that is the computer. I'm gonna go grab the key and we'll actually open that box up. All right, we got the key here, and then this is the inside right here. So this is what you're looking at. So there are your relays right there. That's what controls everything. This is your fuse box right there. So you pop this cover off. There's your fuses in there. Battery's on right now. Now it's off. This is your ECM. So this is what controls, this is the brain box for the EMR motor. So this is built by EMR. It's not a Chinese, electronic box. It's EMR. And so that just sits in there, so it's out of the weather. And then there's kind of the underside of the seat right there. So your hydraulics. It's fully pilot control. And like I said, this thing runs just like a Kubota, John Deere. In your name brand stuff that you're used to running, this thing operates just like that. It's just as smooth. It has just as much power. I'm able to pick up big rocks with it. and it would tip itself over before it ran out of power. So not an issue in that department. So only real gripe with this thing, cab is a little on the small side, and you have to have a different key for every lock on here. So the lock for that box there is different than the lock for your fuel. So they give you 4 keys, so that's a little bit of a nuisance, but I guess the box and your fuel key are the same. That's my really big complaint, is just the cab size, a little on the small side, and you have to have a key for, it's not just one key for all the locks. But overall, it's been a great machine. Like I said, we did some YouTube videos with it to do some work on this property we have, and that's why we're letting it go. Thanks for checking it out.